We say very often in Greece that cooperation is not our strong point. But in this case, we proved the opposite. And both consortium stakeholders cooperated to form a new consortium, the Poseidon Med-2 consortium, which proposed a new project which we all hope that will bring this idea and this perspective much longer, much further. Poseidon Med-2, let's say some things about Poseidon Med-2. It is related to 3 countries, Cyprus, Greece, and Italy, and 6 ports. 4 ports in Greece, of course, the port of Piraeus, Patra, Igoumenitsa, and Iraklio. It is also Limassol in Cyprus, and Venice in Italy. We have managed to bring together, as I said before, all interested parties related to this new market. We have stakeholders from 4 main categories. Stakeholders active in the energy market. DEPA is the project manager and coordinator of the project, is, as I mentioned before, the main gas supplier. DESFA is the operator of the LNG terminal, and in this project has the role of the technical coordinator. We have a second category of participants, all the ports, all the interested ports, and the ports I mentioned before. We have a third category with very large shipping companies, proving that there is a strong interest from the shipping industry for this new perspective. And we have also participants which bring technical and financial expertise to this project, like, for instance, Hellenic Lloyds and other participants, very, very important and with a very good expertise in this sector. There are several objectives. First of all, just to say that, before leaving the previous slide, that the Poseidon Med-2 project is a project with a budget of around 53 million euro and a contribution of 50% from the EU. And you understand, and the main aim of this project is to create the necessary conditions in order to achieve and to implement this very large project, bringing LNG to the marine, for marine users in Greece. There are several objectives in this project. First of all, objectives related to implementation of and to the adoption of specific legislation regarding this sector. There are objectives related to the selection and design of all necessary infrastructure in Revithousa, first of all, which will be the supply point, and also in the main ports from which we would like to supply LNG for bunkering. There is a third objective, which is to create, to implement final and detailed technical designs and plan approvals for both new buildings and retrofit selected new buildings and retrofit vessels, which are going to use LNG. Also to design LNG bunker vessels. There is an application and the construction in Italy of the LNG part of a pilot vessel using LNG. We will examine all synergies related with other uses of LNG. As I mentioned before, we need synergies in LNG and economies of scale. We also are going to develop a sustainable LNG trading and pricing pattern. And of course, we will develop financial instruments to financially support port and vessel installations. There are several milestones. It's a project extended in 5 years. The milestones you see are not by time order, but I present the most important milestones. There are milestones related to Revithousa installations, LNG truck loading in the beginning, and then the infrastructure for supplying vessels from Revithousa. There are milestones related to ports, to create, to design and make all the preparation until tendering of all the necessary equipment in the ports. There are milestones related to the ships, to the selected ships I mentioned before, either new build or retrofit ships. And there are also other milestones related to the other objectives I mentioned before. I will close my presentation by mentioning which are the preconditions, according to our experience, for an effective development of LNG bunkering. In order to do that, we should bring together the interests of supply and demand stakeholders. And first of all, regarding the supply side, we should have LNG security of supply. We should have a very well-designed supply chain. This is important. From the demand side, we should have funding. We should find funding mechanisms for the vessels using LNG, and we should have a competitive LNG pricing, of course. There are two important words in order to implement those goals, and these words are synergies, as I mentioned before, meaning economies of scale. Having synergies, we could have a well-designed LNG chain, and we could have competitive LNG price. And the second important word is cooperation. We think that all participants in Poseidon Med 2 project, we promote this idea and all those targets. Thank you very much.